to Ground Zero Salem. Pat here with you once again. Little house cleaning first. We're listening to the Phlebotomized record I talked about last update. Immense Intense Suspense. This band is from Holland. They are not Finnish. You know, I feel almost like there's some reality shift fuckery going on, like a Berenstain Bears effect. If you've read up on that, where there's two competing timelines that different people have experienced. That's going to be my excuse for fucking this up and getting it wrong. I'm not as knowledgeable as I come off, as I've said before. So yeah, this band's from Holland. I don't know. I became aware of this band like a decade ago, and I think something with just seeing the cover and knowing they were European. You get that gnarly, almost indecipherable logo and that little golem troll thing. I'm just like, yeah, Finland all the way. But that'll be playing in the background as we go through my LPs. We're in the E's now. I'm going to try to get most of the E's out of the way. So yeah, I apologize for the misinformation. It happens from time to time. Seems like a damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of thing. You don't want to be the dude that just regurgitates stuff from Metal Archives, but how do you automatically know everything ever kind of deal? Oh, the trials and tribulations of a YouTuber, you know? Anyway, so I got some records by Econochrist. This is a hardcore punk band originally from Arkansas that moved out to the Bay Area. This is the first LP, Ruination. And then I have the second LP, Train to Serve. Cover art's pretty wild there. Kind of this weird airbrushed black and white little boy with like Data from Star Trek visor on. Equally weird back cover art. This came out on Ebullition. They had a lot of releases at Econochrist. They 2 LPs and probably at least 4 EPs. I have 2 7-inches, and then I think they have a split and like 1 other EP. But very interesting, unique, kind of very musically adept hardcore. They weren't all fast raging 3-chord kind of stuff. There's a lot of the bass leading, really good bass player in the band. Kind of sung, growled, not growled, but gruff kind of emotionally tinged vocals, very political lyrics. But they were really good. So if you're looking for a new hardcore band to check them out, they're definitely awesome and important in the grand scheme of things, the whole history of that genre. Then we got Edgewise from PA, hardcore band, kind of a tougher hardcore band. Saw these guys early on when I used to go to shows at the Lost Horizon in Syracuse. This is pretty standard, but really well executed, kind of riffy, moshy, metallic hardcore. A little bit more on the upbeat side. It's not just repeated open E chords kind of thing. Not too dissimilar to, like, I don't know, Breakdown and Killing Time and stuff like that. But they really brought it live, and they were one of the first hardcore bands that I read interviews with that openly admitted that they were into the new death metal thing blowing up, and that always stuck with me, resonated with me for one reason or another. And this came out on Gain Ground Records in Germany. I think they had a LP before this, but don't quote me on that. Then we have the debut Emperor EP here. You know this, I'm sure, if you're into black metal. Starter pack stuff. I just got it last year. A lot of this real basic black metal stuff is, as I've talked about, new to me. It's a repress on Candlelight on red. Love the use of keyboards on this. I'm not a big fan of that normally, but as you know, I'm sure Emperor were pioneers of it and did it really, really well. Created this fantastic backdrop with the keyboards to everything. Faust Mortis, Isan, and Sama. Here's a record I've mentioned a lot, so I'll make it quick. Endpoint in the Time of Hate came out on Conversion Records, I think, in 1990. Again, very early hardcore band that I saw, I think, my second show. As time went on, they got a lot more, I think, for lack of a better term, kind of emo. Really song vocals, almost kind of poppy. I wouldn't say pop punk, but very 90s. This is almost like a straight up Vicious Youth Crew record, though. It's very fast, really fuzzy, fuzzed out guitar tone. You know, kind of more on the high pitch side kind of vocals. At one point, Rob Pennington screams, "I'm so fucking pissed." His Kentucky accent, beginning of this, but it's a rager. I love it. Then English Dogs, Forward into Battle. Came out sometime in the mid 80s, I think. Came out on Combat Core, the little hardcore subsidiary of Combat Records, the plain red label there. A lot of people are all about this band. I'm all about this record, and I love it. But all their other stuff, their earlier, more straightforward punk stuff, and their later thrash metal stuff is just kind of lukewarm to me. I realize that's heresy in certain circles, but I think it's called When the Legend Began. I think it's like a Lord of the Rings themed thrash metal record, and Invasion of the Porky Men, which is more of a straight up punk record. Those records are fine, but they don't really do a lot for me. This, however, hits that sweet spot with that UK crossover, hardcore thrash punk kind of stuff like Broken Bones, real dischargey, but also kind of blazing early Metallica kind of thing going on. Wall of Steel is the jam on this. If you want to look up a song, if I'm feeling froggy, I'll put a link down there, but Wall of Steel is the ripper off of this, but it pretty much smokes all the way through. Then I have my Entombed records. I purchased most of these before all those FDR represses started coming out. Paid kind of a pretty penny for some of them, so a lot of them are 90s and early 2000s pressings. We have Left Hand Path first, of course. Absolute classic, and I do mean that in a non-hyperbolic sense. This is ground zero, no pun intended, for Swedish death metal. Loved it when I was a kid. Loved it more as a grown-ass man in his late 20s and early 30s. When I was a kid, I was, like a lot of people, into death metal at that time. I was looking for the most extreme thing and was having my head ripped off by Suffocation and bands of that style. The sort of not very blast beat bass, but more punkish style drumming on this kind of put it in a close second for me as far as death metal sounds that I was into. Going back to this, I just love the drumming style, sort of, Repulsion and Discharge inspired stuff. Also going back into the past and reading about what they were influenced by, all that classic shit like Master and Slaughter, and of course Repulsion, and hearing the influence of Autopsy. Just a perfect record to me. There's a little bit of a debate back and forth about whether or not Like an Ever-Flowing Stream by Dismember is actually better. It's damn good. Close second, but as far as Swedish death metal goes, this is still top of the heap, king of the hill for me. And then we have the Crawl EP, which I love maybe even more. It's just it's 3 songs. That's my main complaint, is that it's short. The riff on Crawl is one of the creepiest fucking death metal riffs that I've ever fucking heard. Guest vocals, session vocalist, guy from Nirvana 2002, who has a great voice. And I originally had this on cassette, and I had to own it on LP. Shelled out for it many moons ago on eBay. This came out on Earache, of course. The Left Hand Path pressing, I actually was just looking at this when I was pulling these out, and it's Rock Brigade Records, which I'm not sure what the details are with that label. Some weird European pressing or Polish pressing, maybe. I don't know. Hopefully I didn't get grifted. Then we got this copy of Clandestine that I have. I think this isn't an original repress, but it might be from the early 2000s. It's got this cool, I don't know if you can see that, but this cool embossed logo on it. If you've read the history with this, the guy billed as singing in the liner notes was the dude from Nirvana 2002, but he didn't actually sing on it. There's some kind of, Johnny Dordovec. That's actually not the Nirvana 2002 guy, now that I think of it. Some other dude that they credited, whatever. Look it up. But it's actually Nicky Anderson that does the vocals on it. And a lot of people criticize the vocals as being kind of weak. I think they fit it fine. It's not my favorite Entombed record, but it's not as bad to me as some people say. I think it's still head and shoulders above lots and lots and lots and lots of other death metal bands that play this style. And then after that, you had the Stranger Aeons EP. This is a 12-inch single, 12-inch EP. Stranger Aeons, Dusk, and Shreds of Flesh. And this is just Nicky Anderson and Uffe Sederlund, or however you say his name. And the songs on this are solid and very much kind of in the same vein as Clandestine. Finally, we have the Out of Hand EP single. And I think this record's fucking fantastic. It's Out of Hand, which is my favorite song from the Wolverine Blues era. Not originally on the first pressing of the record, but re-released as a bonus track on it later. And then cover of God of Thunder by Kiss. I think their version kicks the shit out of the Death cover of God of Thunder by Kiss. I don't really have a horse in that race anyway. I'm not a big Kiss fan. But and there's also a cover of Black Breath by Repulsion. So yeah, fucking cool record to have. And then going in, now Entombed did a cover of a song called Night of the Vampire, which, if I remember correctly, is on the split with the new Bomb Turks, which is a 7-inch. And I loved that song. I had the Entombed, I still have it, the Entombed like EPs compilation. I have it on cassette. I love that song. I never knew who it was by for years and years and years. Finally, sometime in the mid to late 2000s, I went to my first Chaos in Tejas, and I heard about this guy playing, Rocky Erickson, and I found out that that was originally by him, Night of the Vampire. And it's a fantastic song. Rocky's a really hard guy to nail down. There's some really cool stuff about him out there as far as documentaries go. He's a fascinating personality. He suffered from schizophrenia for years, and a lot of his mental issues came through in his music. He was in one of the first psychedelic bands, the 13th Floor Elevators. This record, his debut, which originally came out on a major, The Evil One. This is a re-release. Beautiful double gatefold here. What label's it on? This is on Light in the Attic Records, folks. It's got this weird, kind of 70s hard rock, classic rock, but with a little bit of an edge to it. A little kind of slightly garage punk kind of thing. It sounds like a really evil Tom Petty meets Creedence Clearwater Revival, sort of, and not really with some new wave in there. I'm not really doing it justice. You just have to check it out. There's nothing really like it. But very, almost in the same way that Misfits is influenced by a lot of B-movie and trash culture kind of stuff. There's a lot of that in there. I Walked with a Zombie, Don't Shake Me, Lucifer, Creature with the Atom Brain, that kind of 50s sci-fi kind of stuff going on. Bloody Hammer, fucking amazing record. Again, not being hyperbolic, you'll be amazed. This is just something he did afterwards. I don't know if this is a collection of, this is a collection of stuff. Live stuff, studio stuff, with his band The Explosives and some other backing musicians. It's got a lot of the same songs as The Evil One and some other ones. Song to Abe Lincoln. But it's more the same kind of style of kind of haunted hard rock shit. Then we've got this band Eucharist. And this was on Mountain Records, who put out a lot of hardcore in the 90s. This band's kind of mid-paced, kind of metallic, screamy sort of hardcore stuff. Little touches of power violence, grind kind of stuff in there. From what I remember, I haven't spun this in a long time. But this is a great record, and if you see it out in the wild, snag it. If you like that kind of hardcore, because it's quality, and I always see it for like $5. Mountain Records. Nothing too interesting on the inside. I don't have a booklet with this, but, there's the center labels for you. Then we got this Executioner record, In the Name of Metal. This is real sloppy, kind of crossover metal, speed metal punk stuff. This band was from this neck of the woods, from this region. They were from the Boston area. I believe it's the record that came after this. Seth Putnam from Anal Cunt played guitar, I think. But kind of sounds like a sloppier, more metallic GBH in a way. Definitely got some Motorhead sort of stuff going on too. It's a cool one. I like it. And this came out on New Renaissance Records, which, again, total cult label. Lot of great bands that kind of disappeared into obscurity, but also home to, of course, Dream Death and a bunch Necrophagia and a bunch of other well-known bands. Up next, we've got Excel with Split Image. I love this record. This is fucking full throttle, ripping crossover from the Venice area. Venice had that great scene. I don't know whose idea it was to use a demonic, scary Howdy Doody, but that's pretty fucking creepy and weird. But kind of like sounded like equal parts DRI and suicidal. You know, very fast, a lot of really tight picking and stuff like that. Kind of snottier, punkish kind of vocals. Great band. This came out on Caroline. Caroline Records put out a fantastic amount of good hardcore and stuff like that, punk. In the center label, so you can see that you got the that creepy ass mascot there. Then I got a bunch of Exciter records. I got the debut, Heavy Metal Maniac, Crazed, Pissed, Speed Metal. Love bands where the drummer sings. Dan Beeler, drummer, was also the vocalist. I always marvel at how people do that, but you know, if you like shit like Kill 'Em All, Killing Is My Business, maybe a little loose, a little bit more straight up heavy metal than that, but can't go wrong with any of Exciter's first 3 records, which I have right here. Also got Violence and Force. I feel like they got a little bit more anthemic on this one, with songs like Scream in the Night. Pounding Metal definitely sounds like they're wearing their Anvil influences on their sleeves on that one. Also great. And then Long Live the Loud, which this was the most recent acquisition of mine. This came out on Metal Blade, I think, or was it Bonsai? Oh, it's Bonsai. So did the last one, actually, come to think of it. A little bit more power metal with this one. A little bit more triumphant, as you can tell. The guy's triumphing. He's winning. This dude's winning. Can't go wrong with the classic metal collages that were in all these records back then, too. Just a bunch of nice Canadian boys having a good time. A total classic, Exodus, Bonded by Blood. Gold stamp promo. Really, I think Pleasures of the Flesh is good. I think I mentioned that recently, but this is really all I need for Exodus. You know the score with this band, hopefully. Pissed vocals, Paul Bailoff being a total madman, maybe not totally in sync with the music, but it kind of works for it. A lot of those kind of kind of riff styles. One of the very first to play thrash, Bay Area Titans. A couple of exploited records here. This is Death Before Dishonor. Also gold stamp promo. Came out on Combat and Rough Justice. Confused about Rough Justice. I think they might have been a subsidiary of Combat, but I'm not sure. This is when the Exploited started to go metal themselves and involve thrash metal influences and use that kind of, that tight, palm muted picking kind of guitar style. Waddy's vocals were venomous as ever. He never really changed that up, which I'm very appreciative of. The production on this is real rough and real wiry. They improved that a lot on the one after this, The Massacre. But it's a ripper. I do like this record quite a bit. The Massacre may be my favorite. Again, considered kind of heresy to a lot of purists that like the punk stuff better. And then I got Horror Epics, which is kind of tied with The Massacre for my favorite exploited record. They kind of verge back and forth on this between their kind of pub shout, oi, angry fast kind of punk style and this kind of strong death rock influence that almost reminds me of early Killing Joke, particularly on the title song and the song My Life. But then you have songs like Down Below, which is a total traditional exploited style ripper song. Don't Forget the Chaos, definitely one of their more popular songs. The production's also really kind of odd on this. It's good, but it's got that really reverbed out bass kind of thing that Killing Joke had. Love it though. Extinction of Mankind, Baptized in Shit, came out on Scold Releases, German label, sometime in the 90s. Just great gloomy crust punk, you know, heavily influenced by Discharge, but it's got some of that anti-sect and amoebics kind of gloom to it. Very good band. I got to see them once in a basement in Boston, and they brought it. Exhumer, Possessed by Fire, came out on High Roller, re-released on High Roller. I feel like they're a Teutonic thrash band that doesn't really get the props that they should. You know, they're not very dissimilar from Creator, Destruction, the same kind of shrieking vocals and the same kind of types of riffs and stuff, but they sound great on this. It's really well recorded. The quality of the music is head and shoulders over a lot of other bands that kind of seem to get a lot of props as like the second tier Teutonic bands. But as you can expect, they put together a great package here. High Roller Records, like they always do. There's a bonus 7-inch in here hiding somewhere. I believe it's a demo. Mortal in Black. There's the back of it. And Eye for an Eye. Boston hardcore band. Kind of melodic. Kind of a little bit more musicianship. You know, it's that late 80s type of Burn Beyond, Turning Point kind of thing going on. This is their discography, everything they recorded. They were a really good band. This came out on Tang Records. It was a cutout. See that? Bought it ages and ages ago. Probably at a record store that isn't around anymore from around here. But sort of positive, interesting, melodic, well-skilled, well-executed hardcore stuff. And you got the Tang order form. Let's see what's on here. Lemonheads, Battalion of Saints, Anti-Heroes, Spacemen 3, Boston Hardcore Compilation, The Business, The Freeze, The Hard-Ons, Jerry's Kids, Poison Idea. They were all over the Upside Down Cross. They were all over the map. I gotta hand it to Tang. They still exist in one form or another, as far as I know. Tang Records, local guys. Well, were. Now they live in California. They exist in California. And then finally, I have a reissue of Eyehategod, Take As Needed for Pain. Not the biggest Eyehategod fan. They're one of those bands, I know their style, I'm familiar with it. I like them. As far as sludge goes, it's not really my main cup of tea. I'm a huge fan of the self-titled Crowbar record. It's a record that I grew up with and loved. I like this band, but as far as the vocal style and those really twisted Sabbath-style riffs and all the feedback, this is all I need. It's a great record, but I feel like all their early records are kind of on par with each other. This and In the Name of Suffering, and there's one more, I don't remember what it is. So, not a huge fan, don't reach for them often, but definitely respect it, and enjoy throwing this on from time to time. Obviously, they were coming from a very ugly, desperate place, and that's the appeal of them. This was re-released on Emetic Records and Century Media. And Emetic has done some interesting stuff. They put out the Cold as Life compilation and a lot of other shit. But yeah, cool label. They did a decent job with this. It sounds good. I think there's a poster. Oh, it's a double LP. Duh. Double gatefold. But this also includes some bonus stuff on here. The Ruptured Heart Theory that was on Bovine Records was split with 13, which is fantastic. Serving Time in the Middle of Nowhere that came out way back when on Action, which was also a split with 13, it looks like. So, good stuff. I tend to go for earlier stuff by bands a lot of the time because I feel it's distilled down to its purest form. You know, this is about as ugly as they got. So that's it for now. Probably won't see you folks for another week or so. Parents are going to be in town, and it's Mother's Day. It's the little guy's birthday, so everybody enjoy yourselves, and I'll catch up with you soon. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Take care.